Now, just to recap, I wanted to go back to just to one point, Kevin. I say Kevin, I meant Rodney. Sorry about that. Want to go right back right here, and I want us to hear this one point again, because I think this is a good place to build off of.
To do is I have a disagreement day, and you basically came in and said, "Damn your topic. I want to ask you what I want to ask you," and
Okay.
that's. But you are more than welcome to go on my website and purchase your time to talk with me one on one. Because what you're trying to do is rather rude. But I will go ahead and do it because I'm going to use this as a teaching lesson. How old are
Okay.
you?
All right. Now, I wanted to play that again because I wanted to reestablish the fact that I believe, right, from what I've seen, what I've heard, that a verbal implied contract exists between Kevin Samuels and Jessica, aka Miss Average at Best. Now, Kevin Samuels told her, right, that what she did was disrespectful, calling in, asking for advice during a broadcast, a disagreement broadcast, right? But he told her that he will give her the advice that she seeks, which is an offer, and she said okay, which is acceptance. So I just wanted to point that out, right? Now, I also wanted to state that during this entire video, right, this entire broadcast, I did not see any type of waiver statement from Kevin Samuels stating, right, that that he may show or can show any of his participants' image. Now, that is something of concern, that there's no type of waiver statement where he's actually warning people, right, giving them his full intent that he could possibly or that he may choose to show their image and likeness, right? So I do think that's something that needs to be discussed also. Now, I have some case law that I wanted to cover, right? So that we can, sorry about that, y'all, so that we can lay out the entire discussion. And I think this is a good one to start with right here, Rodney. This one is Miller versus Brooks. And this is from North Carolina Court of Appeals from 1996. Now, for anyone that don't know, in the state of North Carolina, they have two high courts. The highest court in the state of North Carolina is the North Carolina Supreme Court. And then the lower court right under the North Carolina Supreme Court is the Court of Appeals. All right. So I'm using a case, right? Case law from the Court of Appeals. The case is Miller versus Brooks. And this case is from 1996. And I want to start right here. We're not going to read the entire case. We just want to deal with the allegations, right, that are being made. Now, the claims and allegations that are being made by Jessica, aka Miss Average at Best, is that Kevin Samuels showed her image and likeness, right? Now, he's showing her image without her permission, right? So I pulled up this case, right? And we want to take a look at this so that we can see whether there's some type of invasion of privacy that existed within that particular video. All right, so I'm going to start reading from here. It says, this appeal requires us to decide whether North Carolina recognizes the tort of invasion of privacy by intrusion into the seclusion, solitude, or private affairs of another. Intrusion tort. It says in Renwick versus News and Observer Publishing Company, right? It says then Mr. Justice Mitchell, writing for the majority, stated, the tort of invasion of privacy is now recognized in one or more of its forms in a majority of jurisdictions. It is generally recognized that the right of privacy as an independent and distinctive legal concept has two main aspects. Number one, the general law of privacy, which affords a tort action for damages resulting from an unlawful invasion of privacy. And number two, the constitutional right of privacy, which protects personal privacy against unlawful governmental invasions. Now, upon reading this, I would say that her situation will fall under number one. What do you think, Rodney?
If at all, it may
Right.
fall under one for invasion of privacy.
Right,
But it
because
definitely doesn't fall under 2 because it's not government.
it's not government. Right. So number 1 sounds like an invasion of privacy dealing with another private citizen. Right. That's what it sounds like to me. My interpretation. Now, the court goes on and says the general law of right of privacy as a matter of tort law is mainly left to the law of the states. All right. So the states, right, determine the matters of tort law. This is what the court is saying. So right here, let me scroll. It says in Renwick, the majority listed 4 types of privacy torts recognized in American jurisdictions. These are number 1, appropriation of a plaintiff's name or likeness for a defendant's advantage. Number 2, intrusion upon a plaintiff's seclusion, solitude, or private affairs. Number 3, public disclosure of embarrassing private facts about a plaintiff. And number 4, publicity that places a plaintiff in a false light in the public eyes. Now, let's go through these. All right. Now, number 1, it says appropriation of a plaintiff's name or likeness for defendant's advantage. So I'm gonna replace plaintiff with Jessica and defendant with Kevin Samuels. It says appropriation of Jessica's name and likeness for Kevin Samuels' advantage. Now, that sounds like a possible cause of action that she can use right there. That's what it sounds like to me, number 1. Now, number 2, it says intrusion upon Jessica's seclusion, solitude, or private affairs. Now, that would be, let me give an example. That would be something like if Kevin Samuels was to set up a camera inside of like Jessica's house, and he was to record her right inside of her, inside of her home, then that would be an intrusion under number 2. Now it says number 3, it says public disclosure of embarrassing private facts about Jessica. Now, again, what I've heard is that she disclosed all of these personal private facts, right? Personal, private, identifying information, whatever we choose to call it, about herself. Kevin Samuels asked her questions and she disclosed these things about herself. So number 3 wouldn't apply, just like number 2. Now, number 4 says publicity that places Jessica in a false light in the public eye. Now, again, she answered questions that Kevin Samuels asked her, right? So only she could have placed herself in a false light in the public eye. So number 4 wouldn't count neither. So it has to be number 1. Now I'm gonna highlight number 1. Sorry about that. And I'm gonna read it to everyone again. So the privacy tort that we can see Jessica possibly using will be an appropriation of her name and likeness for Kevin Samuels' advantage, right? We can agree on that, right, Rodney?
Yeah.
All right, now the court goes on and it says, and I'm gonna start right here. It says our Supreme Court has held that a right of privacy exists in North Carolina and has recognized the first type of privacy tort, being invasion of privacy by the unauthorized appropriation of a plaintiff's photographic likeness for a defendant's advantage as part of an advertisement or commercial enterprise. Now, back in 1996, right, the internet wasn't popping like it is today. Matter of fact, I think YouTube may have just appeared, you know what I mean, during that particular time. So you didn't have suits back then that dealt with platforms like YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm gonna highlight this because I'm gonna replace plaintiff with Jessica and defendant with Kevin. So it says our Supreme Court has held that a right of privacy exists in North Carolina and has recognized the first type of privacy tort being invasion of privacy by the unauthorized appropriation of Jessica's photographic likeness for Kevin Samuels' advantage as part of an advertisement or commercial enterprise. And I'm gonna say, or YouTube. Now, the reason why I'm saying or YouTube is because YouTube does function in some ways similar to an advertisement or commercial enterprise. Why am I saying this? Because popular YouTubers like Kevin Samuels, right, get paid from views. So the more people view his channel, right, the more valuable his channel is on YouTube platform and the more money he makes. So to me, it does seem like this particular number 1, appropriation of her name and likeness for Kevin Samuels' advantage, it does seem like that would be the proper privacy tort that she would want to use in court. Can we agree to that, Rodney?
Say that again.
It seems to me that number one, appropriation of Jessica's name and likeness for Kevin Samuels' advantage would be the appropriate tort that she would want to use in court there in North Carolina.
Yeah.
All right. Now, it goes on and it says, however, the court has refused to recognize the third type, invasion of privacy by disclosure of private facts. And then it goes on to the fourth type. We could stop right there because we're dealing with the first type and we just covered exactly what it's saying, right? And we just established the fact that Jessica does have a claim, right? It appears that she does have some type of a claim under an appropriation of her name and likeness for Kevin Samuels' advantage, which will be the first type of privacy tort in the state of North Carolina right now.
Yeah, and also it appears that 3 and 4 falls under the category of like defamation and libel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are causes of action that will be linked to that tort.
Yeah.
Whenever you defame somebody, like say something about somebody that's not true, and the fact that she was disclosing personal private facts about herself, which falls under number 3, they weren't embarrassing for her at the time nor for him.
Yep.
So that's why number 3 doesn't apply, because although she was disclosing personal private facts, they weren't not embarrassing, because if they were to her, she would not have disclosed them. 9 times out of 10, I don't think too many people would disclose embarrassing private facts about themselves intentionally.
I agree.
So number 3 is definitely out the door, and 4 pretty much talks about defamation. If you pretty much lie on somebody, false light means that you lying, right, and you spread the lie to the public eye, and they cause injury to somebody. Like if you put something publicly, say if you tell a lie on what's those things that people use that follow when you follow people.
Is it memes
on the internet
or tags? Maybe is it tags you're referring to?
Like the pop was the Facebook,
right,
or Twitter. So say if you put something, you tell a lie about someone on Facebook, and they lose their job because their boss said,
mm-hmm,
then number 4 kick in. That's defamation. So it's pretty much describing what defamation and libel in 4 and 3.
Right.
So I think 2. I mean, number 1 would be the main one, and yeah, and if that's and again, it depends on what cause of action. So based on originally when the young lady who was talking about Miss Jessica's case, if they're actually going into court talking about the likeness, mm-hmm, and use of their name and likeness, and as you said that you didn't see any type of waiver statement in there,
right?
Kevin done. Pretty make a long story short.
Well, let me say this, Rodney. Let me say this. I take exception to that because I still think that Kevin has a very strong affirmative defense. And I'm glad you said that, because that leads me to the next case.